Have you ever looked in the mirror and just, I don't know, seen your dad's nose staring right back at you? Or maybe people tell you you have your mom's laugh. We all kind of know we get these traits from our parents, but how does that actually work? How does life decide which traits get passed on and which ones get left behind? Well, let's dive in and crack this code together.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start super small with the instruction manual that's written inside every single one of your cells. Then, we'll figure out the rules for how those instructions are read. After that, we'll learn how to actually predict the outcome, see what happens when the code itself changes. And finally, we're going to zoom all the way out to see how these tiny little changes drive the huge story of evolution. All right, let's get into it. Section 1, Life's Instruction Manual. We are about to go on a journey from the big picture, you, all the way down to the microscopic code that makes you, well, you.
So seriously, how does this incredible mix and match of our parents' features even happen? The blueprint for literally everything, from your hair color to how your body functions, is all packed away super neatly inside your cells. To find it, we need to zoom in, like way, way in.
Okay, first stop, we find these things called chromosomes. The easiest way to think of them is like bookshelves. You get a set of 23 from your mom and another 23 from your dad, giving you 46 in total. And these shelves are what keep all your genetic information organized in these nice, tidy packages.
So what are those bookshelves made of? They're made of this absolutely incredible molecule called DNA. If chromosomes are the bookshelves, then DNA is the collection of books themselves. It's this massive, super complex instruction manual. And it's all written in a simple four-letter alphabet, A, T, C, and G, all coiled up into that famous double helix shape.
Now here's the thing. You don't read the entire library all at once, right? No, you read specific chapters or maybe a specific recipe. And that's exactly what a gene is. It's just one specific section of that long DNA strand that has the instructions for one particular thing, like making the pigment that determines your eye color.
And this is where it gets really cool. For any given gene, there could be different versions. We call these different versions alleles. So for that eye color gene, you might get the brown eye version from one parent and the blue eye version from the other. These alleles are the real source of all our amazing variety.
All right, on to section 2. Now that we know the key players, you've got your chromosomes, DNA, genes, and alleles, let's figure out the rules of the game. When you have two different instructions, how does your body decide which one to listen to?
The number one rule you gotta know is dominance. A dominant allele, which we always write with a capital letter, is like the loudest voice in the room. If it's there, you're gonna hear it. A recessive allele, the lowercase one, is a lot quieter. It only gets a chance to be expressed if there isn't a dominant one there to shout over it. That's why for eye color, just one big B for brown is all you need for brown eyes.
And of course, scientists have some handy labels for these pairs. If you inherit two identical alleles from your parents, say 2 for brown eyes or 2 for blue, you're called homozygous for that trait. But if you get two different versions, like 1 for brown and 1 for blue, then you're heterozygous. It's really as simple as that.
And this brings us to a really important distinction, the difference between what's written in your code and what we actually see on the outside. Your genotype is your specific combo of alleles. Think of that as the genetic recipe. Your phenotype is the physical trait that you see. It's the cake you actually baked from that recipe. So a person with the genotype big B, and a person with big B, little b, actually have the exact same phenotype, brown eyes.
Okay, moving on to section 3. So we've got the pieces, we've got the rules, but can we actually predict what traits a child will have? Well, the answer is a big yes. And it's all thanks to the incredible work of a 19th century monk named Gregor Mendel.
Yeah, so long before anyone had even heard of DNA, Mendel was in his garden meticulously cross-breeding pea plants. And he figured out that traits were being passed down through these distinct units. Now, he had no idea what they were, but what he was describing is what we now call genes. He was basically the original genetic detective.
And he left us with this wonderfully simple yet powerful tool to see how it all works, the Punnett square. It's pretty much just a probability grid that lets us map out the future. All you do is put one parent's alleles along the top, the other parent's along the side, and then you just fill in the boxes to see all the possible combos for their kids.
Let's try one out. Let's say we have 2 mice, and they're both heterozygous for fur color. That means their genotype is big A, little a, which gives them gray fur. Okay, so we put one parent's A and A on the top, and the others on the side. Now we just fill it in. Big A from the top parent meets big A from the side parent to make big A, big A. Big A meets little a to make AA. You see how it works?
And boom, here's where the magic is. We can take that grid and turn it into real probabilities. If we look at our results, we have one AA box and two AA boxes. Since A for gray is dominant, all three of those combinations give us gray mice. Only that one little AA combination gives us a white mouse. So just like that, we know there's a 75% chance of a gray-furred baby and a 25% chance of a white one.
Okay, so far we've just been talking about mixing and matching the alleles that are already there. But it makes you wonder, where do new alleles, new traits, come from in the first place? Let's find out in Section 4, when the code changes. The answer is mutation. This is just a random change in the DNA sequence. Think of it like a typo in the genetic code. Now, most mutations have no effect at all, but they are the ultimate source of all genetic variation. They're what creates the new alleles that keep life interesting.
Let's see what this looks like. So DNA is read by the cell in 3-letter words, and each one of these words is an instruction for something. Right here, we're looking at a normal, healthy sequence, a sentence that makes perfect sense to the cell.
Now, a substitution mutation is like a typo in a single letter. See that? The G has been swapped out for a C. Sometimes this is a big deal and changes the meaning of the word. Other times, it's what we call a silent change and has no effect at all.
But an insertion can be way more disruptive. Here, an extra letter gets shoved into the code, and this shifts the entire reading frame. Look what happens. Every single 3-letter word after that point is now totally different. It's not just a typo anymore. It's like the rest of the instruction manual has just been turned into complete gibberish. And that brings us to our final section, the grand finale. From a single changed letter in DNA to the incredible diversity of life we see all around us, let's connect the dots and talk about why all this stuff really matters.
The peppered moth is the classic story that shows this perfectly. Originally, most of these moths were light-colored, which was great camouflage on the light-colored trees where they lived. But a rare mutation had created a dark-colored allele. Then, the Industrial Revolution happened, and factory soot turned all the trees black. All of a sudden, the light moths stuck out like a sore thumb for birdseed. The dark moths were now the ones that were hidden. They survived, they reproduced, and they passed on that dark allele. And over time, the whole population evolved. So you see, it's this incredible dance between our genetics and the world around us. Our DNA provides the script, all the possibilities. But random chance, through things like mutation and the pressures of the environment, they're what ultimately decide which parts of that story actually get told. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Our genes might lay the foundation, but the world itself is constantly editing the narrative.